Hey, ELMWORLD, what's going on? It's Tiff and Ty, co-founders of Effective Leadership in a Modern World.
Yes, and we're so happy to have you here tonight with our Monday Magnetic Mindset live stream. We're talking about something super, super important tonight. But before we get to that, we were actually lucky enough to be featured in an article that Tiff is going to share with you guys that we're super excited about.
Let me pull it up. Before I pull it up, Ty, could you provide a little bit of context and check out who's here right now? If you're watching, go ahead and show us where you're watching from. We'd like to see where you all are from across the country and sometimes across the world.
Yes, I'm just pulling up the live stream myself so that I can see who's with us. Yeah, so in this article, we're excited to have had the opportunity to speak about the challenges that we overcame to become successful, kind of what the road to success has looked like for us, what success means for us, and what we're doing in ELMWORLD. And it was super exciting to be able to speak in this way. One thing that it reaffirmed for us that is so exciting for us is, Tiff and I, when we started this venture, as well as every other venture that we're partnering in, because we partner in a few different areas, but it really reaffirmed for us how aligned we are in our vision and what it is that we're committed to creating in the world and why we're the perfect team to be working in this capacity. So that's one thing that became clear in this article, which was really cool.
Yes. And so, yeah, Tyge and I's vision definitely overlap. And where it overlaps is kind of our story about what breakthroughs we had to overcome in order to really step into our authentic self. Oftentimes, we think we can separate business, personal, family, and we're one person, right? And so, intention is really important. What I found by sort of uh, moving through this article and realizing that a lot of my story had to do with what intention did I come from and what results that created. And so at an earlier stage, my intention was to prove people wrong. My intention was to prove my worth. My intention was to prove that I am worthy of being who I am because I can create material success. And then I realized that I hit a cap. There was only so much I could produce coming from that place of trying to prove myself. And until I stepped out of that and until I had the breakdown of my life, where I felt like so depressed, so sad, and I seemingly had everything, is when I realized that I could only live my life as me and build my business and my sort of my business persona and everything from that place. And then that's where it became limitless. And that's where ELMWORLD sort of was created through that intention shift.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that, Tiff. The reality is that this story of finding success, finding what society would consider successful with the money and all that other stuff, but having this internal voice say, this is not enough. If this is all there is, this is not enough. That is a story that I hear over and over and over again from high performing leaders. And it's truly that element of authenticity and vulnerability that we bring into leadership that changes all that and makes life so rich and our experience within business so rich. So I love what you said about that. And I really enjoyed being able to do this interview with you. But with that being said, what we want to talk about tonight, we're actually in part 2 of a 3-part series. This is a 3-part annual wrap up about how to wrap up your year, even in a year like 2020. How to wrap up your year in a way that is empowering and launches you into the new year with excitement and motivation and new vision, and really in a way to take the successes that you've had in this year into the next year and build on those. So we're excited to be sharing this process with you. So as you know, last week we talked about acknowledgement, acknowledging how far you've come, celebrating your wins, being in the spirit of celebration. And, we talked about how this is not only important to do at the end of the year, but it's important to do on a daily basis. And certainly, if not daily, at least on a weekly basis, to be able to sit back and say, okay, what did I accomplish? What can I celebrate myself for? How far have I come? For yourself, for your team. This is one thing that we implemented with our executive team. It's one thing that we've always done with our inner circle. And, being in this spirit of celebration, being able to celebrate one another is something that has really shifted the energy for our team, which has been extraordinary to witness and has been so fun to experience. As we move from acknowledgement into this process, the second step is assessment. And this is all about assessing how far you've come. You've acknowledged yourself, you've recorded your wins, you have taken an opportunity to acknowledge what worked, right? And so now we get to acknowledge what isn't working. And this is kind of a two-part thing, right? So when it comes to assessing what hasn't worked, this is, okay, what have I tried that hasn't worked? What have I tried that didn't get the result that I was hoping for? So that's the first part, but there's another part, and this second part, and possibly, certainly equally as important, possibly even more important, is what has stopped me from doing the things that I said I was going to do? Or what has stopped me from doing the things that I wanted to do?
Yeah, I'm gonna come in here because I believe that there are many ways that you can systematize, that you can measure. And so this week we're gonna be touching on like the importance of measuring your success and your progress, what's working, what's not working. But I really am fascinated by the root cause. Like, why is it that I personally feel so stuck when I have to open my bank account? Or, if you've ever had that feeling, or look at my P&L, my profit and loss statement for my business, or, look at the amount of taxes that I'm going to be paying, or looking at the amount of people I'm in conversation with about to enroll them into, programs that I'm a part of. Like, having those numbers in front of me and being able to track those, what deep down is it? And for me, I feel like maybe it's the idea that I don't want to experience failure too soon, that I rather just run blindly and not actually measure, so that I have this like sort of fantasy idea that I'm doing the work I should be doing. They call entrepreneurship the new rat race. And I feel like that's the reason is because we just keep getting on the hamster wheel without a vision and without a way and without the determination and the professionalism to measure so that we know where exactly we're going so we can get off that hamster wheel and actually move in the direction that we want to move. Now, I think this is important to think about. So, like, what do you think is holding you back from looking at your numbers? What do you think is holding you back from doing a complete review of your year and see what worked and didn't work, what you tried, what didn't happen? Did you really put 100% effort into it? Or did you say you were going to try? Did you have someone hold you accountable? What happened? And what were you avoiding? What was the pain that was being avoided when you weren't taking a look? And so it's so interesting that like the biggest lessons that I've had this year was about objectively looking at where the gaps are and being able to be an observer to that experience rather than being in that experience. And that can be really hard. I'm not going to lie. Like when Ty talks about emotional fortitude, we're talking about like, how do we train ourselves to look at our life and our business from an observer's point of view? And I wrote this in a post earlier yesterday about how, entrepreneurship is personal. You quit your job for a very personal reason. You start the business for a very personal reason. Your vision is very personal to you. But when it comes to growth and business, there are times where like you need to be able to step back take some space, look at the whole picture, and be an observer of what you're doing, so that you're not making emotional decisions on your business, right? What do you think about that, Tyke?
Yeah, absolutely. So you said something really important, right? Which is, looking at your bank account, looking at your P&L. And the reality is that we live in a culture of self-care, right? We all see it every day. We see the pictures of people taking a picture of themselves with a martini on the beach, or a bubble bath with, a bowl of ice cream, and while there's nothing wrong with those things in and of themselves, what I find time and time again with clients is that they use those things classified as self-care as a way of distracting from what is truly self-care, understanding where I am financially, understanding, what I get to do to stop this gaping wound of money expenditures going out that far exceeds my income. All of these things, that are so hard for us to look at, or perhaps a better way of saying it, so easy for us to distract ourselves from looking at, right? We say, oh, I'm not going to look at anything that stresses me out, and that's called self-care, or even, the spiritual bypassing that we see so often in today's culture, this attitude of I'm too blessed to be stressed, and while there's like the other stuff, there's nothing wrong in and of itself with having an attitude of too blessed to be stressed, or this spiritual overlook. And Tiff, that I talk a lot about spirituality in my program. We talk a lot about spirituality and being in touch with your authentic self and listening to that inner voice in our program. There's nothing wrong with that. But if we're using that as a way to spiritually bypass and to distract or ignore the things that get to be taken care of because they stress us out, that is not self-care. And I want to be very clear about that, because there's a superficial self-care culture happening today, especially on social media, where these things labeled as self-care are actually destructive when they're used the way that they're being used, because they distract us from the things that may cause stress because we don't want to look at it, or maybe even go against what we say we're committed to.
Yeah,
Right?
positivity is completely overrated. And I think that it's, like you said, can be harmful for even the way that you run your team. So if you currently are running a team right now, or that you have distributors, or you have clients that you're encouraging. And so, people don't come to you just to feel good. They come to you as coaches and as leaders to show them what to do and like where to go. And sometimes like being overly positive and tapping into gratitude. Yes, of course gratitude is going to get you into a different state of mind, but like you said, there's a superficial level of like just looking there and just avoiding the other stuff. So like imagine if you were building a 20-foot story building, and 20 feet, is that 20 feet, a 20-story building, right? And you were just gonna say, I'm grateful, I'm super positive that this is gonna be a really sturdy building, and that people are gonna be able to be in the building, and to it won't break down. And then there are like the measurements are off on building the walls and the lumber, and like the size of the holes and like all that stuff. But you know what, I'm really positive it's gonna work out. Yeah. And so without taking a look at like actually what's supposed to fit, what gaps you're supposed to close, that 20-story building is not going to be a very stable building.
Absolutely. This is so important. This is, being able to assess what hasn't worked is an absolutely critical step to have what's happened in your year move you powerfully into your next year. Because the next step, and the step that we're going to be talking about and focusing on next week, is adjust. And you don't know what to adjust if you don't know what hasn't worked. Right? It's a super important step in order to get clear on that. And Tiff and I had this experience recently in our own business. We're very transparent about what's working for us, what's not working, things we've done, adjustments that we're making and stuff like that. We do that all throughout the program. But we experienced recently where we were running some Facebook ads and we weren't getting the conversion we were looking for. And it really provided an opportunity for us to step back and say, okay, what's not working here? We tried a couple of different ways of doing the copy. We tried a couple of different layouts, a couple of different pictures, and it really caused us to say, okay, well, let's step back and see what's not working here. And what we realized is that we moved way too quickly from organic reach to automation. We have strong organic reach and we know that it works, and we know that building those relationships and making those connections with our leads and our future clients is something that really works for us, right? And moving too quickly from organic to automation is something that is a big step that a lot of people make, or something. It's a mistake that a lot of people make, and it's something that we had to step back and be honest with ourselves and say, okay, what's not working here? And maybe it's not even that we moved too quickly, but that we stopped the organic reach when we went to automation rather than having both of those things work together. And so it was only through the process of being able to step back and assess that situation that allowed us to step into an adjustment that is now making a difference for us in our business. And that's so important.
Yeah, you said everything so perfectly. And what I think though we do, what I acknowledge us for, is that we keep, when we sort of get mixed up or lost or sort of hitting a wall, we always keep the end in mind. And we do take a step back when we have our conversations. We say, ultimately, like, who do we want to serve and what do they truly need in order to succeed? Based on that, what do we get to do? And so, like, I like working with Tyge because of that process, that I can sometimes get really emotional about like what it's not happening and then going like, okay, actually, what's going to be the greatest service to our ideal client now? And I think that being able to take that step back is the most valuable muscle that you can build. And sometimes it's really uncomfortable when you first start, and even later it gets really uncomfortable. But just building that muscle and being like, let's take a step back, and see what's working. So we're now going to be implementing organic reach and paid ads, and just doing both and testing both, because I think we did rush into doing the ads without, yeah, like you said, it wasn't the rushing in, it was completely stopping what was actually working, right? So like, we were doing organic and it was working, and then we were like, oh, gonna move over to ads. And then, depending on all of the millions of factors of ads and everything like that, it didn't work out. So we fell flat on our face for a couple of months.
Yeah, it's so interesting. This is maybe a little bit off topic, maybe not, but what this reminds me of is when I speak to people and say, what's the one thing that's going to change your business? One thing that I hear more than anything is, I've got to get my funnel right. Right. And we see this all the time. People come in and they're like, I need a funnel. I need a funnel. I need a funnel. But the reality is that comes at a certain point in the process. And listen, I made this mistake, right? When I first became a coach, I was like, okay, man, all I need is a funnel. And with the right funnel, it's all going to be golden from there, right? And I paid tons of money to get this funnel software, and suffered for like 3 months of trying to figure out what the hell I was doing. And I was like, finally, after 3 months, I was like, I have no clue what I'm doing. I canceled my funnel subscription because I recognized after 3 months of struggling that I had a lot of work to do before I was at the point where building a funnel made any sense for me. Because, like ads and all that stuff, funnels only work in the context of relationships that you've built, right? And I see people jump into this idea of, oh, I need a funnel before they've done any other work on their business. And it's,
I know, I
I've
know.
been there. I've been there.
Interestingly enough, I was the funnel hater because I was so dependent on relationships that I built. And I was very much the like simplistic person where it was like if I wanted to make a sale, I would physically call someone, and that would be the way that I would generate, or I would attend an event and I would connect with people and then I would just follow up with them. So I was very much an advocate of the thing that worked in our business. And of course, like we're shifting, we're doing something new, and we want to be able to scale. We don't want to depend solely on organic, right? And so, but the mistake was to cut it off way too early. And it's so funny that you say that story, because I became that person, was like obsessed with the right funnel after like my entire lifetime career of being like, screw that, the only funnel I need is myself and a phone. That's all I
Yeah.
need. So I mean, and
Yeah,
you know that about me when we first started working together too.
absolutely. And what's coming up for me in this conversation is we talked last week about how important, and started this call talking about how important acknowledgement is on an ongoing basis, right? Not yearly, but weekly. And best of all, best practice is to do that daily, right? Being in acknowledgement and being in celebration daily. But as we're talking about this more, I realize that assessing is the same thing, right? We definitely want to assess when we get to the end of the year. What did we start out the year saying that we were going to accomplish? Where have we come? What worked? What didn't work? And really taking a good look at that. But it, what's coming up for me is that in order to be a leader in a modern world, that requires innovation. And innovation cannot happen without assessment. Because in order to innovate, you have to be able to assess what isn't working.
Yes, yes, yes. So our challenge for you is to take a look. And if you're like, I don't know where to start, luckily for you, we have our client specialist, Tasha, who has been through our entire program. And if I can give you sort of a preview of our 2.0 curriculum, we're already working on 3.0, but I'm gonna just give you like a little bit of a preview of what our curriculum is like and how detail oriented it is. And Tyge and I are already thinking about breaking up our signature curriculum and turning it into smaller courses, because we understand how sort of high level it is, but also how much is in there, right? And so we're learning too. So we start at mindset, and then we go into branding and how to do that. Then we go into setting up your platforms, and then we go into launching your platforms, and then we go into marketing, and then we go into sculpting your programs, and then we go into sales and enrollment. And so what we done is we set up Tasha, your client specialist, to help you run a really short diagnostic on what's working and what's not working on your business, right? Tosh has grown so much in the last year in being coached. When she discovered coaching, she didn't know that she needed it. She decided she wanted to grow her business after having a baby, and was bored at home, and then realized that she didn't want to do it the same way everybody else was doing it. She wanted to learn some leadership skills, and then she wanted to build platforms around it, and she wanted to be able to learn how to learn how to sell and enroll people in a systematic way, like we teach, right? And so then Tosh came on board, and then she became on our executive team in order to support you. So she knows the ins and outs of this. And what will happen if you jump on a call with her is that she'll be able to get on a 5 to 10 minute call with you and learn about your business, and then learn like what might be next for you. And if she feels like we can actually help you, then she'll be able to tag you with me or with Ty, and you'll jump on a call with one of us, and we'll be able to actually advise you on how you can take your business to the next level, what you really truly need to do.
Absolutely. Yeah, if you're not sure what's not working for your business, if you know that needs to be a shift or there needs to be an adjustment, but you're not even sure what direction to take, jump on a call with one of us and let us do a business assessment for you and see kind of where the weak points are, and develop a plan with you of how you can get on track for creating the vision that you're committed to having in your life and in your business.
The number one mistake that solopreneurs can make is to be solo. And the thing is that's so interesting about that is that you are in business to support other people, but yet getting support for yourself is something that you truly struggle with, like receiving support. And so we understand that about leaders. We understand that there's a lot of story and pride, and I can do it myself and I can grind it out. And I'm sure you come a long way with that. But there's a next level, and that next level always requires what we're offering here today. And so that's why we're here, y'all. Like Tyge and I are only here because we understand like how much coaches and organizational leaders and network marketers, how much they grind for their people, how much they want it, and they give up sleep, they go to all kinds of conferences, but they don't have that thing, right? And so we want to see if like our thing is a good fit for where you're at in your business. And if we can help you, we'll let you know. And if we can't help you, we can definitely refer you in the right direction. Like it's not really just about selling to you. We want to know that we can support you. And after having, I think we've had quite a bit of clients this year running through different versions of our program. We're understanding the kind of client that is going to have the most success with our program. And so we're going to be able to say no if we don't think if you're ready, not yet ready, right? And so that's going to be a gift for us, and it's going to be a gift for you as well to know what you can work on to get ready to reach that next level.
Absolutely. One thing that I learned, you touched on this, Tiff, but when I became a coach, when I became a solopreneur, right, I almost had this romanticization that it was supposed to be all of me. I was supposed to do everything. And then I had a coach one day say to me, after I actually got a coach, I had all this romanticization about this being a solopreneur, and then I got a coach. And I had my coach say to me one day, when you think of Tony Robbins, what do you think of? And I was like, well, he's this great coach, he's this great trainer. And he named a couple of other people that we see as solopreneurs, right? And he's like, do you think any of them do what they do without a team of people behind them? He was like, they have a whole machine grinding behind them. And yes, they're the front person, and you see them as this extraordinary solopreneur, but the reality is that all of these people have a team behind them that are making it possible. And that just completely shifted my perspective about it, because I had never really thought about it that way. I'd never really thought about how much coordination and how much teamwork it takes for these people who are having huge impact in the world to be creating the impact that they're creating. And that's what I'm committed to. I know it's what you're committed to, Tiff, is what we're committed to together, is having impact in the world and actually creating leaders, supporting leaders in carrying their impact, in exploding their impact out into the world and growing their impact in a really meaningful way. So, if you've been doing the grind as a solopreneur, if you've been doing the grind as an organizational leader, and you haven't had that support, think about how much further you could go if you had a team of people behind you. One of my favorite proverbs, it's an African proverb, and it says, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. And I love that, because that just encompasses what I've experienced myself in business.
100%. And so if you want to book a call with us, if you want to run a diagnostic, we're not going to hard sell you. It's not one of those situations. We want to make sure that it's truly the right fit, right? Go ahead and put leader down in the comments if that's something that you're interested in taking a look at. I just want to also share with you, one of the benefits about being in the inner circle is being able to be a part of a community that really, really cares. And so here's a little glimpse of the inner circle and, sort of our community and how we support each other. It's really phenomenal. This is our last call, our innovation lab. And our innovation lab is a place where we get to work hands-on on the things that are in the way of your business, or things that you can't quite figure out, or things in the curriculum that maybe don't make sense to you at that moment, but you want to come and work on it. And you get to have feedback from your peers. You get to have me coach you during that lab, and you walk away with something tangible. Like, more often than not, you're going home with a Google Doc with exact steps of how to implement, right? And so it's pretty incredible to see, like, just with a little bit of support and push every single week, and being connected to other people who feel the way that you feel, is quite inspiring, and it keeps people moving, going, and grooving, right? And so I just want to share, like, just a little bit before we go. I know we might be over time, but like, this is pretty fun to just like kind of see where people are growing. And I'm gonna go like this. See if you can hear the sound. I haven't started it yet. But we did some acknowledgments about what people have accomplished throughout their time here. And so I'm just gonna share just a little bit. All right, check this out.
Good job, Kimberly.
Yes. All right, team. Someone acknowledge Kimberly.
The greatness I see in you is that you show up authentically and you don't care what anyone thinks. And I love that.
Woo! Yes. Aaron is next. Go, Aaron. Unmute yourself.
Okay, I acknowledge myself for stepping up into this program this year because it is what I wanted to do. And I acknowledge that there were things holding me back from stepping forward, but I decided to look past them anyway, and then was able to move completely past them. So I think that was a huge thing. So I acknowledge just being able to, step into not the program, but also just like who I want to be as a person, and how do I want to run my business, and just being committed to taking that to where I want to go with the real sense of commitment. So I acknowledge that. I acknowledge that we moved across the country this year, which was something that's been on my back burner for like 12 years, a long time. So it was a process and a journey, but that was a big one for both of us. And I acknowledge just everybody in this group for being so open to sharing and helping, because it's been helpful to me as well. And I appreciate this group a lot. So
beautiful. So that's just a little bit of the impacts that our clients make in their lives when they come together in this way.
Awesome. I love it. So like Tiff said, if you want to have a business assessment, if you would like support in figuring out what's not working, what gets to shift, what direction you need to take in business, and if possibly we can help you, and if not, what direction you can turn to get the support that you're looking for, put leader down below, and you'll have a call with one of us to take a look at what's happening for you in your business and see kind of what the next steps are for you.
Yes. All right, y'all. Have a great week. Next week, we will be doing adjustment. So acknowledgement, assessment, and adjustment.
Yes. Happy holidays, everybody.
Happy holidays.
Bye-bye.